Toleranzpolitik gegenüber straffällig gewordenen Zuwanderern. 5. Bewahrung und Schutz unserer Identität und unserer Christen.
Right, well, thank you all again for coming. Just to tell you a little bit about Pegida, we're obviously against the extreme elements of Islam within this country. By extreme, we might mean the terrorist organisations, obviously, that we have, Hamas, Al-Qaeda, Taliban. That's just the tip of the iceberg at the moment, okay? We've got a rise of Sharia courts in this country, the rise of Muslim-only schools in this country. Now, that's obviously causing a massive issue because we're wanting people to integrate when they come into this country, and that's just not happening, okay? Every time we bring up these certain issues of Islam, we are getting labelled as racist and bigoted, which is obviously not right. So we need these issues to be addressed. We need this problem to be addressed. And through peaceful demonstration, we will have our voice. Can you hear me now? Yeah. So we're going to have a little bit of a sing-song first. So we're going to have a sing-song of introduce ourselves a little bit and just told us what we're a little bit about. So, Pegida, we're obviously been labelled many things. A political movement is what we are not. We are actually a public awareness campaign. So, we just want everyone to know that right, left, everybody is welcome here, just to voice our opinion against the Islamisation of Europe. So, by these issues that we've got at the moment, hopefully through peaceful protests, we'll be able to get these issues forced into our government, forced into the House of Commons. So, I'm going to introduce our first guest speaker at the moment. It's Paul Weston from Liberty GB.
Oh, Jihadi John. It turns out, of course, that his name is actually Mohammed. Now there is a surprise. And what's he doing out there in Libya or Syria or wherever he is? He is doing nothing that the Prophet Muhammad did not personally do himself. Did Muhammad, the Prophet, behead people? Yes, he did. Did he take girls as sex slaves? Yes, he did. Did he wage jihad? Yes, he did. And now we've got our own little pocket Muhammad over there doing exactly the same thing. And all of the media and political class in this country are saying, what happened to him? What on earth led this nice, well-educated young man from Westminster University to go over there and start chopping off English people's heads? Well, it's quite simple. He has not been radicalised by some peculiar imaginary ideology. He has taken the words of the Quran at their literal value. When Muhammad said, I have been commanded to wage war against all mankind until they testify there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. That is what Jihadi John is doing in Libya. It's literal, it's real. And when Muhammad said, I will instill terror into the hearts of the disbelievers, strike at their necks, that is what Jihadi John is doing in Libya. It is nothing to do with some perverted ideology that he has taken. It is the literal words of the Quran, and it's about bloody time everybody in this country understood this is a book of hatred, terror and submission. Well, I've been talking to some of the media during the week, some of the BBC people, and they said, what are you going to be talking about when you do this Pegida rally? And I said, I'm going to be talking about the truth, because you are not hearing the truth. And they said to me, are you an Islamic scholar? Do you know the Quran? And I said, no, I'm not an Islamic scholar, but I know what it says in the Quran. And they say, well, tell me one thing it says in there that you think is a bad verse. So you tell them about any one of them really, but the most important one is, I have been ordered to fight all men until blah, blah, blah. That is a call to war. And when I say this to them, they don't say, is that really true? They just gloss over it and they say, ah, but you're just inciting hatred. We are not here today to incite hatred. We are here today to get the truth about this disgusting, backward, savage, barbarian, supremacist ideology masquerading as a religion called Islam. Pure, unadulterated Islam. It is a problem. And the other story during the week was the numbers that are growing. Apparently, amongst the young, it was 5% a decade ago. Today it's 10%. In 10 years' time, it will be 20%, and in 20 years' time, 40%. At that point, this is an Islamic country. And if anybody thinks that we are all going to coexist peacefully because we live in a multicultural nirvana, Islam is monocultural. Islam does not like you. You are unclean, infidel kafir. They have no love of you. They have no love of our democracy. They have no love of our traditions, our history, our heritage, and they are ordered to take us over, and that is exactly what they will do if we quietly do nothing. We have to fight back, and what we have is the truth on our side. And this is why they say, no platform for the right. This is why Russell Brand and George Galloway and the soap dodgers behind us. Let's hear it for George Galloway, a traitor to his country. An absolute traitor to his country, a most disgusting man you have ever hoped to see in your life. And Russell Brand, who is Russell Brand? Russell Brand is this guy that wants to see a revolution in this country. Well, he will have his revolution. If he lets things go the way they go, there will be a revolution from the Islamic side of it, and the first person they will string up from a lamppost is Russell Brand.
History. The Spanish Civil War plot, which commands the Newcastle battalions and the fight against Franco in Spain in the late 30s, that is dedicated in the Durham miners' offices. It's there not to represent the Durham miners, it's there as a banner for everybody who fought fascism in the 30s prior to the Second World War. We've also in the North East, we have the International Brigade paraphernalia. Now we've just received a banner which flew in Newcastle at the end of the Spanish Civil War in the City Hall. We're currently getting that repaired and renovated and put on display in the Durham Miners' office to remind people of the struggle that went before, because marches like today are not strange. We've had them in the past, we had them in the 30s, we've seen the fascists rise slightly in the 60s, but today's demonstration must tell them, couple hundred people down the road, that there's no place in Newcastle, there's no place in Durham, there's no place in Northumberland, and there shouldn't be any place in the country for scum like that. So we're here today, and I make a pledge that whenever there's a demonstration in the northeast or anywhere else, the National Union of Mine Workers will be at the forefront of that. Thatcher maybe closed the pits, but she hasn't closed the ideas, the thinking and the socialism of the union I belong to, and we'll be rallying to the cause. I hope the North East TUC, the organisers of this march, and I hope the Labour Party, who I noticed while I've been away in Cuba, have been at the tricks again with their heads in the troughs and looking for money and more jobs. I'm going to give a message to every Labour MP who we represent and we elect to represent us. You've got one job, and that's looking after the interests of working people and getting rid of capitalism. It's been an absolute disgrace. It's a scandal when our representatives are treating us the way they have. So let's seriously, because I believe the next election in May, I've been told to wind up, but the next election in May will be the most important election I've ever been involved in my life. We must win that, but our representatives must not forget the people who put them there, and must aim to change the rotten capitalist society that's put thousands and millions of people on across Europe in the state that they cannot pay the debts. We've got problems in Ukraine, we've got wars all over the Middle East. Get rid of this bloody government we've got in now, get a socialist government in, and let's get change in society. And we've shown today, Newcastle's shown today, it needs changing badly. It's a pleasure to be here, it's been a great privilege to speak to you, and I hope this is not the last rally to get rid of these despicable organisations. Thank you very much.
The next thing I thought, and I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking this, is how have they been allowed to come here? Why have they not been banned? Why was this march not stopped? And then the human rights lawyer in me spoke up and said, it's their human right. And as distasteful and as despicable as that is, it's their human right to have a peaceful assembly, just like it's our human right. Because that's the tricky thing about human rights. They belong to absolutely everybody. It's also the beauty of them when you think about it, because whether you're black or white, old or young, male, female, gay, straight, no matter what ethnicity, language or nationality you are guaranteed the same human rights. And I thought it would be worthwhile to say a little bit about where those rights come from, because it's a strong irony today that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights came out of the atrocities of the Second World War, and what the German people did, what the Nazis did to certain people that they picked off because of the community they were from, or because of the group they belonged to. And in their thousands to begin with, and then in their millions, they were enslaved and tortured, stripped of their dignity, and in the end brutally murdered. And the world as one rose up at that point and said, this can never ever happen again. And because of that, the world leaders wrote a long charter of promises, of guarantees, covenants if you like, about how we will treat each other and how we will want to be treated. So that's why we have the right to live free of torture, free of slavery. That's why we have the right to justice, and that's why we have the right to equality. Now they don't get that, but we have to hold that really, really close, because if we lose that, then we lose our humanity, and then we're just as bad as them, and then they win. And this is exactly how to fight them. If they send us 100, we come out with 1,000. And just as they did on the streets of Sweden in Malmö on the 9th of February, the counter-demonstration to Pegida turned up 100 strong for every one of Pegida who turned up on that day, and that's how we beat them. there's a general election coming up. And if the Tories win the general election, they're going to get rid of the Human Rights Act. They're going to scrap Human Rights Act. And I can't think of a single good reason for doing that unless they want to reserve the privilege of treating some of us inhumanely. Don't let them pick us off. Don't let them do that. You've got to vote. Use your vote and vote for the party who's going to preserve your human rights. Because we need them, and we've never needed them more than we need them now. Just to sum up, I'm really proud to be wearing my Newcastle United scarf today. It's not a prop. Those who know me know I've been a season ticket holder for about 100 years. We do all regard our human rights. It's very important in these sad times when an entire religion can be brandished for the mistakes which have been pursued by the government. The next person who I'm going to bring up is David Stockdale, a Labour councillor. He's been doing a lot of work with Newcastle United. And if it wasn't for him and his contribution, I'm sure that most of us would not be here today. He goes to my fellow comrade in Palestine. So I'd like to just add that in there. And here he is, David Stockdale.
Thank you. Sisters and brothers, I bring you greetings of solidarity from the Newcastle Central Constituency Labour Party and from all the councillors of all parties elected to represent our great city. Comrades, this act of coming together in unity and in solidarity for our Muslim sisters and brothers is symbolic of what makes Newcastle one of the truly great cities of the world. Ours is a friendly and tolerant city. It's welcoming and rich in diversity and culture, with a long and proud history of standing up to injustice and intolerance. Pegida, comrades, Pegida are simply on the wrong side of history. Throughout the ages, the extreme right have sought to divide communities by spreading fear and hate in the pursuit of prejudice. And each time they've been defeated, because ultimately right always prevails over wrong. And let me say this, friends, let me say this as a non-Muslim. In fact, let me say this as somebody whom the gift of religion hasn't yet been delivered to. Pegida paint a brutal misrepresentation of Islam and what it means to be a Muslim. Islam, like Christianity and Judaism and all of the great religions of the world, teaches tolerance and peace, not hatred and violence. If those are not values which Pegida want for our country, then comrades, we really are justified in our vilification of everything they stand for. There's a lot of speakers still to come up, so let me finish just by saying this. The responsibility of tolerance lies with each and every one of us. So let's hope that our display of love and peace and unity and coming together washes over the Pegida crowd, all 200 of them on the other side of this barrier. Let's hope that our love and peace and unity wash.
Next speaker is a brief speech on behalf of the organisers, Newcastle United. This man has done a huge amount, more than just about anyone else here, to organise and to promote this demonstration today from Newcastle United and Unite Against Fascism, Simon Hall. Greetings, brothers, sisters, comrades. We need a correction because we've got to buy an atlas and we've got to give it to those people over there to say, this is Newcastle, it is not Nuremberg. Sunderland is not Saxony. Durham is not Dresden. It's not a case of driving them back to Germany, it's a case of driving them back into the sewer from which they came, on which they must return. I have a message here. People might not know, in Dresden today there is a mass protest in support of migrant workers' rights and against racism. In Dresden today, the birthplace of Pegida, they're marching along with us, shoulder to shoulder, and they've sent us a short message which they have asked me to read out. When you demonstrate against Pegida in Newcastle, we demonstrate in Dresden against racism and for solidarity with refugees. We want to show that the streets belong to us and not to the racists of Pegida. During the last few weeks, more than 100,000 people have gone onto the streets in Germany against groups like Pegida, against xenophobia and racism. This is very encouraging that we have been able to resist them. The mass demonstrations across the country create a divide in Pegida between hardcore Nazis and its populist wing. The threat of racism has not vanished, however. Anti-Muslim racism, hatred of refugees remains widespread. Pegida also increased the radicalisation of the right. Violence incidents against Muslims and refugees have increased by 130%. We want to live together in this world with mutual respect for our origins, gender, religion, sexual orientation and skin colour. Mutual respect and solidarity are common concerns of refugees and the rest of the population in order to create a better living conditions for all. Together we demonstrate against the far-right movements like Pegida, against discrimination and racism. The right to asylum is a human right that we must protect and defend. Together we fight for the right of refugees. From Dresden, we greet Newcastle. We must make sure that we stand together and make sure that whilst here today at this time, they go no further. The fight against racism and xenophobia will continue. It will not be going away. We must continue the fight. And that means that on the 21st of March, as Wayman said, our nearest demonstration will be in Glasgow. I would like to see everybody here in Glasgow on the 21st of March, marching side by side with people in Madrid, in Berlin, in Dresden, in New York, in Paris, right around the world. A massive international day to say no to racism, no to xenophobia, no to Islamophobia. Together we can win. Send them back to where they came from.
You know what? But you know what? After today, I'm moving to Newcastle! Because Newcastle is a beacon of light, not only for the British Isles, but for the whole of Europe. And let me tell you something, brothers and sisters, we all smile in the same language, we all cry in the same language, we bleed in the same colour. And don't think these people have hatred. In reality, they're cowards. And all of you are fearless in the face of this type of cowardice and hatred. Brothers and sisters and friends, these people want to tell you that there's something wrong with Islam, there's something wrong with our values, but it's not the case. If they were to understand Islamic values, which are values that are universal, that we all hold, they would realize the Quran says the good deed and the evil deed are not the same, and repel evil with good. And between you and other people that was hatred, maybe we can become friends. This is our narrative. Our narrative is repelling evil with good, and we have to stick to this narrative, brothers and sisters. Another thing I want to make and emphasize and make very clear, we have to unite from the perspective of having dialogue, discussion in a compassionate way. These people want to cease dialogue and discussion, but we need to revive it amongst our communities, understand who we are, because the Quran says that He created us in different tribes in order for us to know one another, not hate one another. Join the campaign! Join the campaign against racism, against hatred. I love Newcastle. I love you. Stay together. Take care.
Those who want to come amongst us and divide us, not between rich and poor, not between the owner and the worker, divide us not between those who suffer in our society and those who cause the suffering, but to try and divide us on the grounds of race and religion. Because it's no accident that the great football team just up the road there plays in black and white. Black and white are united here today.
As I surveyed the front pages of the newspapers and a newsagent as I walked through the tune just 5 minutes ago, it looked like a kind of incitement to hatred, incitement to racism and Islamophobia. On every single front page today, the word Muslim, Islam, Britain is staring out at us. And I want to take this opportunity to say to the representatives of the media here today, you have a responsibility to take the heat and the hate out of this situation here in Britain today. People of all political stripes are here and we are united. Whatever else divides us, we will not accept this particular German import. I'm not against German imports. I drive one. And there are European partners. I'm not against the good things that come from Germany. But as far as we're concerned, Pegida can get back on the boat, sail away, and never come back again. As a matter of fact, the German people have already found them out. Their vicious and vile organization is already imploding in Germany. One leader after another unmasked as the strutting little Hitler that we know them to be. However they dress themselves up, that's what they are, Hitlerites. Which brings me to the main point that I wish to make. Some may say, some will say, given the pitifully small gathering that they've managed to muster, well, it was much ado about nothing. But that's what they said about Hitler in the 1920s. But Hitler fed on the real social and economic crisis in Germany and persuaded millions of people that the people to be blamed for the crisis in Germany were the Jewish minority within the country.
We're a militant anti-fascist organisation. We believe in organising in the community, working class communities. We're opposed to any kind of division that the fascists cause. Whenever they turn up, we turn up. We don't tolerate them on the streets. We don't tolerate them in our communities. We organise through unions, through community groups, and physically when we have to.
we've seen a lot of people standing up against racism. We've also seen a lot of speeches, and we've seen people hijacking this for their own political means. But we're here to show these people that they don't belong here and they can't be here, ever.
Thank you. And
I just want my son to grow up in a peaceful environment without hatred. And that's why we're here, for him.
Well, today there was a peaceful protest against the Pegida and up against Pegida and how we want peace in Newcastle, how Newcastle is black and white for a purpose, so it's a multicultural country, and that everyone has the right to everything, and everyone should be treated equal, and that everyone should just be treated fairly in Newcastle, and that Newcastle is a country of peace, and it should be, and we should get rid of all the hatred, and it should be a country of love. Yeah, there should be no divisions, and everyone should just be equal and just fair. Newcastle should be a place where everyone wants to live, not Newcastle being given the name of a bad place to live if you're Muslim or if you're Jewish. It should be a place where everyone should feel welcome and stuff. So yeah, that's what it was all about, just about getting the word out there about peace.
It's also important to show them that just because you came to Newcastle doesn't mean you're going to get away with it. We are united as one, whatever culture, race, ethnicity. But it was important to get the message out, not just in Newcastle, but also globally as well, because they came here thinking they would come out and be the better person, but they obviously weren't the better people. They couldn't even agree with what they were doing themselves with the arguments throughout the protest. So yeah, we need to get rid of racism, fascism, and Islamophobia.
Handle this problem themselves alone. They have to unite with others. They have to unite with those who feel similarly. Newcastle should be part of it.
Thank you, Mr. Galloway. What do you think of the campaign by IRA? Against racism campaign from IRA?
I don't know.
Axiom in the 1990s, debate on integration and Muslim schools. We shared the same thing. Myself, Rubina Qureshi, and I was in Scotland for 6.5 years in Dundee, and that's right.